Hello everybody and welcome back to another episode of Safari Mack Returns to Africa. I'm Safari Mack, your guide and host, helping you make connections to the wild. Well, here we are, finally in the year of 2026, and as I said in my previous video, we are here in the Serengeti Plains. More specifically, we are back in mainland Africa within the two east nations of Tanzania and Kenya for the world famous Serengeti National Park. There's so much I could go into about this land, about how it originally came to be and how important it is to all of us, but we don't have time. We have a migration to catch up with. We are going with the Wildebeest. Please don't ask me to say the Latin name. This one took a long time for me to figure it out. It's a little hard for me. I think Konochahites? I don't know. Anyway, we're going to get started because we're starting to fall behind. But before we begin, if you're new to my channel, hit that like and subscribe button. Check out my Facebook page for content on conservation. And if you have a question about animals, or if there's an animal that you want me to do in the future, send me an email, which you will always find the link to down in the description below. But if you're ready, I'm ready. Let's get running. Now, when you first look at the wildebeest, you might think of it as some kind of a cattle. They're not cows. They are part of the bovid family, yes, which would include sheep and goats and such, but they really are their own special kind of name. They are called Alcephalidae. I'm sorry, it's really difficult. Basically, it's a group of antelopes. So these are members of the antelope family, but they are all ruminants, meaning they do have multi-chambered stomachs, somewhat similar to a cow, and they do feed a lot to keep that digestion system going. Now, the wildebeest actually comes in two kinds: the blue wildebeest and the black wildebeest. Now, for our today's video, we're just going to focus on the blue wildebeest, but these two are interconnected to one another. It was said that the blue wildebeest first appeared around 2.5 million years ago, and then eventually the black wildebeest became its own subspecies 1 million years later, as they began to evolve their specific traits and evolve into their own unique with their own unique kinds of habitats. Now, for their habitat, lifestyle, and reproduction, everything about the wildebeest is based on migration. They are constantly roaming around on short grass plains and open woodlands, constant in southern and eastern Africa here, where they're constantly in search of new grass and fresh water. In fact, it's said that they can live anywhere as long as they are within maybe 9.3 to 15.5 miles of drinkable water. Otherwise, they wouldn't be able to really survive anywhere else. Now, the wildebeest, as you would guess, is a very social animal living in immense herds where there can be thousands of these animals all together. They live together, they roam together, with males and females kind of having their own separate deals, but everything about them is tied to migration. Now, I could go into full detail about how their migration works, but I'm going to leave that to a video that you can find in the description below, based on Expert Africa. Be sure to check it out. It'll explain everything about where they're going, where they would be, especially if you one day want to go on safari in East Africa. I do recommend it. I would love to go there one day myself. But now, basically, I can tell you this. In the first few weeks of the original migration where they're going north, that starts the rutting season. That's when the males are constantly fighting each other for females and to establish territory areas. Now, when I say territories, I'm not saying like this entire land, but like sections of land where they can maintain as many females as possible, because within a few weeks, 90% of the cows, 90% become pregnant. Now, when they do come back to the southern part of the Serengeti, which would be northern Tanzania, that's when all that breeding that took place earlier has mass birth. Within a few weeks, short weeks of the rainy season, almost 500,000 wildebeest calves are born. This is an amazing strategy that overwhelms predators with abundance of food, but this helps ensure the survival of the next generation of these hardened migrants. However, not every wildebeest mom will have a joyous occasion. See, in order to survive, these calves have to stand within minutes of being born. Within an hour, they're able to run. But those that are not able to stand, mom has to make the hard decision to abandon them and continue with the herd. It's nothing personal, it's just this is part of the circle of life. Those that don't survive ultimately get eaten by the predators, which would of course include lions, leopards, cheetahs, as they will prey on wildebeest calves, and of course hyenas and other predators will do what they can to get themselves food. But those that do survive, they will travel alongside their mom and will learn everything they need to know, what dangers to avoid, how to fight off predators, and just all the genetic makeup of what it means to be wildebeests, something that have been around for well over 1 million years. Now, by the time this little guy is around 8 to 9 months old, they will leave their mothers and will go off on their own to find their own place in the wildebeest circle of life. Now, we're going to skip today's diet because basically they eat grass, and we are going to look at the influence in the human culture. Now, these creatures are an important source for the Maasai. The Maasai, for thousands of years, they had followed the wildebeests as a way for them to find meat and other sorts of resources, like using their tails as fly whisks, even their skins as leather. And of course, today, while the Maasai don't always depend on the wildebeest, as they now have their own food sources, such as the cattle that they raise, the wildebeest are a major influence for tourism. They've even been featured in creation myths. So let's be honest. Because of their appearance, the wildebeest has actually been called the clown of the African plains, even an animal assembled by committee from spare parts. How do I mean? It's thought that the creator had made the wildebeest after bits and pieces that were left over after finishing up all the other animals. Picture it like this, and I'm going to just show you along the way. It was said that the wildebeest was created using the face of a mule, the horns of a cow, the beard of a goat, and the body of a horse. Of course, this guy had a split hoof, and it seems odd, but in a way, it kind of fits the description. Doesn't it to you? Well, ladies and gentlemen, that's all the time for part 1 today. Be sure to join me next week for part 2 as we continue the migration. But until then, this is Safari Mack. I'll see you all out there.